Hi, I'm Brett with the Craft Beer Connoisseurs, and before this episode begins, I just wanted to provide you with a little information on who we are and how you can stay updated on all of our content. This podcast was created to showcase craft breweries and indulge in interesting conversation. We want to help promote a variety of breweries and along the way have conversations ranging from sports to beer and beer to just about anything. Please feel free to follow us on Instagram at Craft Beer Cons, send a friend request on Untappd, or subscribe on YouTube at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. Also, drop a comment, like, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Now stay tuned for today's episode.
Welcome to Craft Beer Connoisseurs. I'm Chris.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Brett. And along with us today is producer Jaden.
Welcome, Jaden. So in today's episode, we're going to be reviewing Cowbell Brewing, a large brewery from a small town in Blyth, Ontario.
Yeah, so we're going to be highlighting two beers. The first is Absent Landlord, and it's a Kolsch from their Core Founder series. And the second is a Double IPA. It's seasonal, called Double Exposure.
Can't wait to try
Sounds
those
good.
for sure, eh?
Yep.
And to finish up the episode, we're going to have a discussion about sustainability. Cowbell Brewing is located in Blyth, Ontario, which is in Huron County. I've spent a bit of time there for sure.
Yeah, same here.
They are actually the winner of the 2020 LZ Award as LCBO's Magnum Supplier of the Year because they just are in every single LCBO.
It's so many beers,
Yes.
right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you'll see a brewery in the LCBO and they have maybe 1-2 beers at the most. They've got like 5, 6, like their
Whatever their seasonals are.
Yeah, their
the Founder
seasonals, their
series.
regulars,
Yep.
everything. They're everywhere in every LCBO in Ontario, probably.
Every big LCBO, even an LCBO convenience outlet in a small town,
Yeah.
you will find some Cowbell.
There will be some.
It's hard to miss them.
But it's funny because Cowbell started as a retirement idea.
Yep.
So there is a hotel in Blyth called the Blyth Inn that they were thinking about taking over when they retired and whatnot.
Yeah.
But now look at it. Look at what it's become, right? Instead of being a small, maybe little brew pub or just like a regular restaurant, now it's a huge, huge brewery.
It's a massive
Yeah,
brewery.
and we haven't been to every brewery in Ontario, but I'd say it's probably one of the biggest,
sure.
at least craft breweries in Ontario. Like it's humongous, huge space of land, which we'll kind of talk about a little bit later, but the building is just gigantic.
Yeah, no, they do a great job, obviously, with the restaurant portion of it, the brewery side of it, so it is a huge operation.
Everything there is top notch.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say.
Great retirement idea.
Yes.
It is. Maybe one day that can be our retirement.
I'm hoping.
I don't think it'll be that size. Though.
No.
We'll be on the small scale.
Yes.
Like, yeah. Well, the area of Blyth is actually known for its agriculture, and the plot of land where the brewery is was a cattle farm, which makes sense, ties into the Cowbell name and everything like that. So
Right.
it's nice to see them kind of drawing on the history of not just the area, but of the actual land that they're on too. And they do have the core values of quality, integrity, community, and social responsibility, which is nice to see too.
Yeah, no, it's good that they've got core values and they put them out there.
Every place should.
Yeah, and it does tie nicely into the idea of what they're trying to put out there. So you can't miss the building when you're driving
No.
in Blyth.
No.
I mean, there's not a whole lot.
There's probably
in
not much
Blyth,
else in Blyth, yeah.
but you can't miss it. It is a beautiful Mortise and tenon building. So that's no screws, plates, steel. It's just all wood. And so Brett, you and I went, and the producer went. Chris, have you ever been? Like, I've been a couple times, I'd say.
I haven't been able to make it out to Blyth, no,
Right.
to go to Cowbell.
Amazing you've made it out there. Being from London, you can't take that trip.
It's a heck of a drive.
It's a heck of a drive.
An hour and
Well,
25
hour and
minutes
a bit.
north. Yeah.
But even, let's say, for example, if you're eating at Cowbell, if you just take a look up, you can just see the beauty of the building
In the building.
itself.
Yeah. No, it is good. And the one thing with them being the Mortise and tenon is it's not like they just went ahead and hired it out from a big company, right? Like they built it by local companies with the Mennonites and approximately there's, I think, 650 Douglas fir beams that were sourced from BC. So it's sustainable managed forest, which ties into obviously our conversation later on about sustainability.
Yeah, and I think we'll see that theme of sustainability as we talk about the brewery going forward. That's a big thing that they're trying to do, and I think they're succeeding pretty well.
Right.
Absolutely. So, in terms of their beers, the fun part about the brewery, because that's what we like to
we
do
do-
is
we
to
do like
drink
the
the
beers.
beers.
That's why we're here.
Exactly. So they have their founder series, obviously the Absent Landlord, which we're going to have later on in the episode. They got the Doc produced Bobcat. They have the Kelly's Contraption.
Yeah.
I believe I said that right. Contraption.
Yeah.
The boxing.
Not contraception.
brew.
You're okay. You're fine. Yeah. And what they do with their beer, so 5 cents from every can goes to children's hospitals. So if you buy a can of beer in Hamilton, then that will go to the McMaster's Children's Hospital. So they try to keep the money local to the hospitals. So the individuals that are buying beers in their community, that money stays within the community for those children's hospitals. So that's checking that box.
Absolutely. And look at how much money they have raised, right? Over the, 3 years Cowbell's kind of been in existence?
Yeah.
Just past $500,000.
Wow.
$500,000.
For children's
And
hospitals.
5 cents a can, that's a lot of cans. So
Yeah.
that's a lot of cans.
Yeah.
It's a lot of beer being consumed.
Which is another good thing, right? Drink responsibly, but consume, some Cowbell beers and support a cause as well, and keep their business sustainable as well as those hospitals.
Yeah.
Especially during this time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And to your point, Brett, about the founder series, they also have the session series, which is beers with a little bit less alcohol content. So I think the Shindig is in there. Their Gravel Run, which is the session IPA, is in there. So if you're looking for still good tasting beers, but a little bit less on the ABV, then it's a good place to start.
So a fun fact about the Shindig, right?
Yeah.
Is it wasn't originally in their core, their founder series, etc. But it's actually their biggest seller.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it is a lager. It's pretty basic. It ties into, the older people who aren't necessarily into craft beer.
Yeah.
They say, hey, can you get me something like a Bud Light? Shindig.
Here's your Shindig.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's that transition beer that we've talked about in earlier episodes,
For
right?
sure.
Like
Just get someone into the door,
Yeah.
and then, especially at Cowbell, where they have a really big restaurant, someone might be eating there, and so then they say, okay, I want to get a beer with this, but not, like a boxing brew and IPA with like 80 IBUs. I just want something kind of that I'm familiar
bit
with,
lighter,
and then
yeah.
they get into the Shindig. Yeah.
Yep. And I think that plays off of it is some people might just be going there for their food because their
sure.
food is really good.
Well, and it's a
They do a good
destination,
job there, too.
right?
Yeah.
It's a destination spot,
Right.
right? So,
So
definitely.
with that being said, it's the same sort of thing. Going to your point, like, hey, I just want a lager, something basic.
Yeah.
They have the Shindig, and then that might transition into the IPAs and
And get a
go from
flight
there.
maybe and try something else
Try a
different,
couple
right?
different things.
Now, they also have a Renegade series, which is more so their one-off specialty brewers. They just made a mango lychee sour. They've had a mango milkshake IPA in the past.
Yeah, a few IPAs. There's a West Coast IPA recently. Quebec Pale Ale, I think it was.
Right.
So yeah, they're just kind of random beers that whatever I guess the brewer's kind of thinking of at the time.
Yeah, so to go back to the point about it being kind of a destination kind of place, right? They have the restaurant, which we talked about. They have the brewery, which we talked about. They also have, they call it the Treasure Hall. And so that's upstairs. It's used for weddings, trivia nights. So again, it's just trying to bring people into the community because you might have some individuals that are there for the theater and coming in there and, you know what, let's do a trivia night while we're here.
So wedding venue, did you look at that as a wedding venue, Tyler?
No.
Why didn't you?
Why not?
Well, here's the thing. It's got a lot of the things that we enjoy about kind of our style, but no, it was just, it's a little bit too out of the way for all our family and friends.
Fair enough.
That's true.
Not a lot of hotel space in the area.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too,
Yeah.
right? Is you kind of hope that the community in that area can build around what they have there and say, okay, now we do have this destination spot. Maybe we should look at putting in some more kind of lower hotel, motels, B&Bs, and see what they can drive.
Well, especially because Cowbell has plans to construct a 10 to 15,000 capacity event space behind the brewery.
Huge.
So that is
Huge.
humongous.
Huge.
So you think if there's going to be that many people at an event, eventually,
Right.
post-COVID, whenever, they need a place to stay.
Right.
Right. So
And they're diversifying their business, right? Because again, they have the beer, they have the restaurant, they have this. Now they're adding this extra little piece in, and possibly the distillery as well.
Right.
Like one-stop shop.
yeah,
Could literally just do everything there,
Yeah.
right?
for sure.
And I know they were planning on doing a big event this year, but obviously, COVID kind of ruined that thing.
Right.
But going back to the beer itself, a lot of the stuff there in the tanks is all automated.
Yeah.
You
it's
can
an
literally
automated
press
process.
a button and boom, stuff is happening.
And when we went through the tour with Grant, we'll mention him later on, is the automation of the canning process. They were losing about 15% of their beer due to spillage.
Wow.
And so they had the company come in, redefine everything, and said, okay, this is a small footprint for this canning operation, and rejig this whole entire automation. And their spillage is like 0.2% now.
Yeah,
like it's insane.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to the tour.
Very unfortunate.
It was sad.
I would have really liked to have gone.
I'm still not over it.
Wow.
It was a great day.
Thanks for rubbing it in. But did you guys get to kind of go behind the scenes in the canning area and everything like that?
Did we ever?
We did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely. So we sat down with Grant. We had a conversation about everything that they do there.
Yeah.
And then he was like, all right, let's go on the tour. So we went behind the scenes. We checked out the automation. We checked out the tanks. We checked out their lab.
Yeah, research lab,
Which was
very cool.
really, really
Wow.
cool. Yeah, just to kind of see that and what they've talked about. And they do have they had the pomegranate and honeysuckle. So if you still
Right.
have that, and it was kind of like an insider's tip that usually they say drink it between, the 3 and 5 month kind of period, but they've held on to it past 6 months and they've actually said it's got better.
Is that part of the research lab?
That is
then?
part of the
Yeah.
research lab,
Okay.
just to kind of put their beers out there, test them, taste them, and then see the shelf life, right? Because they have to test that before they
Right.
go ahead and put it out there.
And when we were on the tour, I did talk to Grant about possibly bringing the peach hef back.
Peach hef.
Yes.
Yeah, that does ring a bell.
Yeah, it was a funny story about that. So I was playing in a fastball tournament in Huron County, actually with the producer, Jaden. And we went to Cowbell for lunch, and they had a one-off peach hef on tap. And we're like, yep, you know what? Let's get it. Had more of it, bought a growler of it, went back and sat on the bench for the next game because I drank the whole growler of it. Then went back to Cowbell and got another growler of it. And then the next day came back and got another growler of it. And then Wednesday came back again and got another growler of it. And then Saturday came back and got another growler of it. Just kept filling it out.
So I assume you liked it.
It was all right. Okay, of course it was.
So,
of course it was good.
So that's the thing is I've had it as well, split a growler of the peach F. And when we were at the tour, I think we were kind of a little bit poking and prodding at Grant and saying, hey, we want that peach F back.
Well,
Maybe in the
even-
Renegade series.
Even just maybe a really small batch for just for the podcast.
I hope Grant emails me and says,
Yeah.
hey, we're bringing back the peach F on this date.
Well,
so I'll
when
be
we-
first in line.
When we posted about this on our social media, Cowbell reached out when we looked at our beer and year in beer.
Yeah.
And so they reached out as well and said, oh, like, what were your favorite kinds of beers? And I dropped it again, like, hey, peach F, bring back the peach F. So,
Well, and I haven't had that one, unfortunately, but I would definitely love to have it because it sounds awesome.
And speaking of Cowbell Brewing, we're going to link all of their information on our social media pages where you can take a look at all their beers throughout our week in terms of what we've had in the past.
yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm
I
getting
think
thirsty.
I think at this point it's
same.
time to have these beers.
All right, we're back. And so, first things first, let's thank Grant at Cowbell for supplying the beers for today's episode.
Yeah,
Thank you, Grant. Much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we are looking at the Absent Landlord. So this is Cowbell's inaugural beer. It's the first beer of their Core Founder series, and it is a 5.3 ABV and an 18 IBU.
Nice. So Cowbell on their website describes it as a perfect combination of old world and new world ingredients. It's fermented warm and left honest. And part of that is brewing it unfiltered and unpasteurized to let its elegant and delicious flavors stand proud.
The classic unfiltered
Right?
strikes again.
So it's good. Fun fact about this beer, though.
Yes.
Certified vegan.
Oh,
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome for that tidbit of information.
That's good to know. We've had gluten-free beer, now we've got a
exactly.
vegan one.
Yeah.
Good to know.
And
It's actually-
keto. Yeah.
Keto? Yeah.
It is actually named
It was
after-
actually keto. I said gluten-free, but it was actually keto, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're
That's-
right.
I'm
Yeah.
trying
My
to
bad.
move on
My
to
bad.
like, more history, okay?
Okay.
So it's actually named after Henry Blyth, an Englishman who was Blyth's namesake in the mid-1800s, having purchased many of the town's lots, but never actually visiting the town.
Wow,
Smart.
what a guy.
Smart.
It's like, you know what? I'll buy that. I'm not going to go there, but I'll buy that.
You like to see that.
Income property, way ahead of his time. So on Untapped, you can follow us at Craft Beer Connoisseurs, and the overall rating for Absent Landlord on Untapped is 3.55 bottle caps out of 5, with a total of about 11,000 check-ins. So probably one of the most drank beers that we've had on the podcast.
Yeah. Absolutely,
Easily.
I think it is.
Because
right?
again, it's readily available to anybody and everybody who goes to an LCBO. Right?
Absolutely.
Or, and at the brewery.
And their inaugural beer, right? So it's been around for a long time.
For sure. All right. Everybody prepare, glass in hand, can in their
Ready?
hand.
Let's do it.
Let's open her up.
Again,
No,
what a great sound.
No, stop. I was talking to a couple buddies last night about that, actually, and they're like, so does Brett just always say that's the best sound?
Yeah,
Because the one episode you had 4 beers, and we heard it 4 times. I was like, yeah, that's Brett.
Yeah, so this
To
is...
those people, it is the best sound. So just
Well, this is a Kolsch, as we mentioned, so we're drinking this just out of a regular pint glass. So make sure when you're drinking your beers to use the proper glassware.
I saw Brett take the glass to his mouth, but it was to his
I was
nose. I was
drinking
like,
it?
he's going right in.
It's like a reflex. Just
Yeah,
pour
just
the beer and then
pour the
right
beer
up
and
to
then
the
drink it,
mouth.
right?
Yeah.
This is it's interesting, and I don't know, Brett. Do you want to grab the can for a second?
Oh,
There's some
yes.
information on there, and I know that you like to do this, and I don't want to steer your thunder on it.
Well, it does say Absent Landlord. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go to the expert. So, there are some food pairings with this. FYI.
You
Just
love
so
your
you know.
food pairings.
I do enjoy some good food. Soft cheese,
Oh,
which has also been provided to us today, which is good. Grilled meats, and pastries.
Oh.
So all 3 things I have down before.
and probably in that order, right?
That's like
Yeah, that's about right.
appetizers, a main course, and a dessert.
It's true. You can have it all.
It's a versatile beer.
So I'm waiting for the grilled meats to come up here shortly.
Let's see if we can put an order for that. So on the nose. Oh,
Floral.
yeah. I was going to say.
And like a tiny bit malty, like nothing crazy, but I'm picking up the malts through the smell.
There's I don't want to say like a cracker kind of flavor, like nose
Yeah.
smell
Bready,
to it,
if you
but
will.
Yeah, kind of bready.
Yeah, kind of bready. Yeah.
But nice color. Nice golden color, as
Yeah.
you would expect from a Kolsch.
It is. Yeah.
More often than not.
They say this should be served around the 3 degrees centigrade mark. I don't know if we have the temperature gauge up for this, but
I think we're pretty close.
I think we're close to it. It's nice and cold.
You know, I do appreciate on their cans that they are very informative in terms of how to drink the beer in terms of temperature.
Glassware.
One thing close to my heart,
Yeah.
the glassware.
Yeah.
And then, like you mentioned, the food pairings. So it's very informative to someone who might not be a connoisseur.
for sure.
That way they know. They know what to do with it.
Yeah.
They can get their charcuterie board out. You know,
Yeah.
get their Absent Landlords out.
Get their grilled meats.
Yeah, just maybe
Gold-
some pastries.
Golden in color, as you mentioned.
Yeah, you're right.
There's not a whole lot of sediment, even though it is unfiltered,
That is surprising. There is
right? Which I
Yeah.
am kind of a little bit surprised by that, but there is like it is. You can see through it, so
Yeah.
that's nice to see. All right, let's put the beer to the lips. What do
I
you think?
think let's do it.
Let's do it. Speaking of nosedives, went right into that one.
Yeah, I
Good Lord.
saw a little bit pop out of your
Well, that's
glass.
my new look, right? You know, usually be caught up in the beard, but now I don't have
There's
a
no
beard.
beard. His depth perception was
Yeah.
off by about 2 inches, and he
Oh my goodness.
took a couple of the
I
licks.
took
to it.
more beer. Usually I feed my beard and my mouth. Now it's just my mouth. And
You're not used to it.
I'm not used to it yet.
That's nice.
Oh, that's a good winter refresher, if you will.
Yeah, it's definitely refreshing, kind of crisp.
Crisp is a good way to
Yeah,
describe it.
and that's kind of a pretty strong characteristic of the Kolsch's, and it's very similar to a lager, but
It's got that little bit of a change to it.
yeah, it's a little bit more flavorful than
Yep.
a lager. I think.
You get that kind of floral hit a little
Yeah.
bit differently, right? And
A
I think
little,
that's the
little
Kolsch.
sweetness in it,
Little bit.
I would say.
Yep.
That takes away from the lager, which is, thank goodness.
Yeah,
Like sweetness within my Kolsch's, I would say.
Good.
Yeah.
It's good, yeah. Top 5 flavor profiles while we get into it a little bit here. I'll let you guys consume a little bit more of your beer, but smooth,
Agreed.
light, floral, sweet, and fruity.
Don't know about number 5. I can see how people could potentially get there.
Yeah.
In my opinion, no. That's just me.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get the fruity. And I
No,
find
I
this
don't
very
either.
interesting about Untapped is that we tend to get like 4 to the 5, and the 5th one is kind of like just like a throw in.
It's just someone's like,
Oh,
I'm just
30.
gonna mess with everybody and put something crazy in
Like
there.
fruity. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
go fruity. Imagine if it was like sour. Like,
No, not
this one's
quite.
not right.
Yeah, they didn't mention stone fruit.
No.
We have on our last episode, but it is listed as fruity. I don't think anybody's getting that though, right? The floral for sure.
Floral for sure, yeah.
Yeah. And
Light, smooth. I do feel smooth on the
smooth
mouthfeel.
for sure. And I definitely, like I mentioned, I could kind of smell a little bit of that malty, kind of bready, but I'm not really getting that in the taste.
What about on the back end? Because I'm getting a little
Are you
bit of
getting
a little bit of the malty on the back end. Not a whole lot, because I think that's the beer, right? Is it's smooth throughout, so it's not just on the first sip. It's smooth throughout the whole.
I'm almost getting a more like a lemony kind of flavor at the end.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe my taste buds are off. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a new year.
I'm gonna take a look over at Jaden here and see what he feels like with this, because we haven't had any of the producer input on this one. So I'm just
No.
wondering what he's thinking. So we're just looking. Okay, here it is.
Here it is.
Pretty much everything that has been said. Wow, there's a lot to add to that big insight.
No,
from,
no
the producer.
original commentary from Jaden.
You hate
We
to see
thought
it.
bringing him on would be good. Yeah. But it turns out, nah.
But very insightful in the last piece here. I think he wasn't enjoying our little bit of bullying, but good after a ball game. And that's
Yeah.
true, right? It's a very easy. I think even during a ball game, like not actually playing one, but sitting at like a Jays game,
Yeah.
this is a kind of beer that I think you could crush a couple of them.
And it really
Obviously not-
feels like a summery beer, right? It's like we mentioned, it's crisp, refreshing, everything like that, which goes perfectly with some hot weather. But at the same time, I'm not going to complain about drinking it in January. So.
Right. I'm not going to complain about drinking it any time of the year.
Right, exactly.
Right. So let's go on to our Untapped user thoughts on this one. We'll kind of move things a little bit along here. So, Brett, I think you got the first one there.
That I do indeed. So Eric B, his username's Eric Graf, double G, I believe.
Double
December
G,
20
double A.
Double G,
Sorry.
oh, double A too.
Yeah.
Good, look at that. On December 27th said, this was Margaret's favorite, and I think she's right. Who the hell's Margaret?
The main thing,
Apparently this beer is really good with her.
the main thing with that is that at least Eric recognizes that Margaret's right.
It's true.
That's the first
Yeah.
step.
Yeah.
That's
True.
the first
He,
step.
he gave it a 4 out of 5. I mean,
Okay.
really interested in Margaret's rating.
Yeah.
Was it a 5 out of 5? Was it a 4?
I mean, if it's her favorite beer, you'd have to think it was a 5 out of 5, right?
100%. 100%.
We'll have to look it up. Do a little bit of research on that one.
Yeah. So I'll take a look at the next one. So on December 1st, Abraham E, username Abraham_guy, commented, great golden color, pleasant aroma with a full taste. This is one of my favorite Kolsches. So it looks like Abraham, not really sure how to spell Kolsch. Obviously didn't look at the can. Maybe needs to go back to grade 5, learn how to spell. Though I don't know if they're teaching Kolsch in grade 5.
Germany, they probably are. Belgium?
Yeah,
Oh, that's a good point.
It's probably grade
That's
2.
a good point.
Yep.
Yeah, but he or Abraham gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah. Maybe got mixed up with galoshes.
I was thinking,
Coming in with colashes.
I was thinking
Yeah.
he was watching like some koalas on like the Discovery Channel or something like that. When he was drinking this beer, like trying to go with koala, and then was like, kolashes.
Or maybe this was like his 6th beer of the night.
Yeah.
And he's just
This colashes is fantastic.
The one thing about Untapped though, it has a little bit of spell check, but not too good.
Yeah.
right.
Right?
All right, let me get started with our ratings here on this Kolsch. And I'm going to give it a 3.75.
Sorry, just finishing this up there. So
nope, that's good mouthfeel. We could hear that.
yeah, thank you. So I'm going to give it a 3.5.
3.5. I'm going to be the exact same as you, 3.5. Jaden coming in hot as well, with also a 3.5. Now we have to have him add up.
Yeah, so that gives our team overall score of a 3.5625. So we're going to give that a 3.5 out of 5.
Yep. So we're going to have beer number 2 next.
The second beer today is Double Exposure, a New England-style double dry-hopped double IPA. Holy crap,
Double?
it's a tongue twister.
You got through it.
A
Congratulations.
lot of doubles going on there.
True Canadian with the double.
Yes, exactly. It has an ABV of 7.7% and 55 IBUs. Now, it comes with Sultana and Huel melon hops. I hope I said
Great
Huel
job.
right. I could be
Yeah.
wrong. Who knows? Vibrant citrus and brash tropical aroma reminiscent of a freshly cracked can of pineapple.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
I
Doesn't
love
it,
pineapple. Yeah, so as you mentioned, the pineapple. So flavor showcase. It's a juicy orange, the pineapple, as previously mentioned. Late summer ripened stone fruit. Back at it again with the old
Stone fruit.
stone fruit, are we? And a hint of freshly zested lime.
Boom.
Nice. So this beer on Untapped has an overall rating of 3.86 bottle caps out of 5 with 990 check-ins. So almost at 1,000.
A little bit less than the Absent Landlord.
A little bit, but I believe this is
By a bit.
their winter seasonal, right?
This is, yeah, so-
still some time.
All right, let's get primed and ready here. Grab the glass.
I'm ready. Let's go. Come on. Hurry up.
Jump into the
Brett's always ready.
All right, I'm just so excited for this sound here, so I always am. Let's open her up.
All right, so as we pour this beer into our glass, we are drinking a double IPA, so we're drinking it out of an IPA glass today. So always use your proper glassware.
It really helps when drinking the beer to drink out of your proper glassware. I'm just saying. It's just very helpful.
It really gets the most out of the beer.
Watch the pour, because that head comes up quick.
Oh,
It does come
that
up quick.
head is strong, but looks good.
But again, I think that's with this kind of beer glass, right? With the IPA,
100%.
and when you're pouring it, you get more
Yeah.
of that kind of
It-
head on it, just the way that it's contoured, right?
Yes,
Thank you.
I agree. Chris is staring up in outer space over there.
No,
Just
I-
looking at the beer
just
like
checked out.
"Ooh,
I
like
was
it."
smelling it, and I'm not sure. I just can't put my finger on what it smells like.
put your nose on it.
Put my nose on it.
Yeah.
Help you out with the smell?
Just dip my nose in it.
Nose dive, nose dive.
Do what Fife did the last one there. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah, I just couldn't figure out what it was.
Maybe just watch the beard and make sure it doesn't hit your beard there.
So on
Yes, because I do still have my beer.
on the look there, it is hazy. You can't
Cloudy, if you will.
Can't really see through it.
Yeah.
Not with a chance of meatballs.
Which is what you'd expect from a New England.
Looks very pineapple juice like, if you will.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? Like, so to kind of go back to that l'ananas.
Ooh, français,
Oh, français.
s'il vous plaît.
Back to grade 4 French.
Right? And I love the pineapple. I've got shirts, I've got socks. This is a beer that speaks to me a little bit in that aspect, but good color on it. We said it's cloudy. You get that head that just kind of lingers around there.
Absolutely. Now, going back to food pairings, because, again, I like food. And Cowbell, if you ever get a chance to go to the brewery post-lockdown, again, try some of the food. Fantastic. Highly recommended. But in terms of their pairings, hey, we're back to charcuterie boards, boys.
I love a good charcuterie.
Who doesn't like a good charcuterie board?
Speaking of which, where's ours?
Where is ours? Chicken wings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that.
Sharp cheese. Some more bitter. But my personal favorite, and I think I need to try this when I go home tonight, tomorrow, whenever I go home. Apple crumble.
Yeah.
Apple
Nice.
crumble beer sounds dynamite.
Sounds delicious.
I could hit up some apple crumble, and I think
Who doesn't like apple crumble?
when we get in the taste of it, you're going to get that fruity flavor, right? Hopefully
believe
with the
so.
pineapple
Oh, yeah.
coming
I
through,
believe
so that's
so,
a
yeah.
nice pairing. So
But the head, look at the head retention though.
Oh yeah, this is
Oh.
this is a big head, and it's I don't know. We poured it 3-4 minutes ago, and it's
still
still
sitting there.
lingering. Yeah.
yeah,
For
sure.
Sitting there.
yeah,
Are we able to taste now?
yeah. Go ahead. Let's get
Awesome.
let's get into it a little bit here. It looks very much like a New England double IPA, though, right? So
Ooh. That is good. Now, disclaimer, I did have this off the tap when we went to the Cowbell tour.
okay.
Because it had just been released, I think, the day before.
While we're in the forms of disclaimers, conflicts of interest on this one, I did.
Apple crumble.
I've had several of these. I have had a couple of these. I did have one last night as well.
Oh wow.
So that's
You know what? They call that market research.
yeah, that's what it is.
Well, I have not had it. So
Yep.
well, I mean, other than the couple sips I just
So
took
what
right
I'm
now.
going to do is I'm going to step back a little bit at this time. and let you just kind of get your flavor profile.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to kind of go off what you think, and then I'll chime in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I get a ton of pineapple in it. I think what I was smelling, as I mentioned, I was kind of smelling, couldn't put my finger on it. I think it was definitely the hops coming through. They do list it as 55 IBUs, which is high for New England, but I guess pretty low for a double IPA. But I get a lot of hops and kind of bitterness in the beer, which is fine. It's still good. But yeah, not getting a ton of that pineapple.
So for those who are listening at home, I'm not even looking, but I can see on my peripherals, Brett has picked up the can for the third time. Okay, just for doing a key check.
He's put it down again.
I was just making sure if there's anything I was missing off of it or anything like that.
There is no temperature on this one.
Chris pointed that out earlier. I don't know if you were listening.
Yeah.
No, it was off air. Right?
Yes.
It was
earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
before we opened it.
It's all blending into one for me.
Before we opened her up, we had a little discussion off air about
true.
it.
Yeah.
And how the can itself, they did a really good job on the design of this one. But they didn't put the serving temperature on this one, which was just...
Or the glass.
Glass either.
Yeah. Which is a little different from their founder series and their core beers. So
Always change it up.
I think because it's the seasonal, they don't put that in there. And maybe, someone who's picking up the double IPA might be a bit more of a connoisseur of craft beer rather than just kind of someone picking a beer off the shelf.
Absolutely. And it might be part of it being double dry hopped. That might be more so where you're getting that bitterness from, if you will.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But I will say that in terms of temperature, I don't know what temperature we are drinking this at right now, whether it's 4 degrees, 5 degrees, whatever. It's the right temperature. That's just me.
I mean, personally, other
Pat
than
myself on the back for that one.
Other than drinking, a stout or a porter or something like that, if it's cold, it's great.
Yeah.
Right.
So this beer here is in the LCBOs if you are looking for it, if you want to kind of taste along with us.
Or an online order from the brewery itself.
For sure. And this does replace that pomegranate honeysuckle that was mentioned earlier on in the episode.
Yeah.
So I don't think that this one's going to be great after 6 months. That field study hasn't happened.
We'll have to check back in with Grant in about July and see how it's going.
But for sure, do try and get into it and taste it. My kind of flavor, now that I've heard yours, Chris, because I didn't want to kind of impede on your kind of own kind of thought process, is I do have more of a pineapple forward, and I don't know if this is my subconscious kind of like checking in with my taste buds. You know what I mean? Like, because I know that it's pineapple now, and like reading through it, I feel like I'm getting more of that kind of flavor profile come forward.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's just me playing games with myself.
Which sounds like you play with yourself a bit.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I had to. It was right there. Anyway.
Well, Tyler opened the door and Brett walked right through it.
Moving on. The top 5 flavor profiles that would be on Untapped.
We had a little note from producer Jaden saying, like, yeah, this is a good kind of entryway transition into the top 5. I think that was put to shit.
Yeah.
I think we took that kind of transition and just shit all over it.
Anywho, moving on. The top 5 flavor profiles: juicy, hoppy, citrus, hazy, smooth.
Interesting, because to me, I can't have a hoppy and smooth beer at the same time. I mean,
oh, see, I disagree with that.
I also disagree with that.
Okay.
Well, now you're the minority.
Yeah. But if it was, if it's super hoppy, it's not extremely smooth, right?
But this doesn't say super hoppy. I think it's just hoppy, and that it's toned down, so there is a bit of hops to it, but it is smooth. And the mouthfeel of this, I get is smooth, and maybe that's kind of the difference too, right? Is there's the mouthfeel, then there's the actual taste of the beer. If the taste of the beer was too hoppy, then maybe it wouldn't taste smooth.
Yeah.
But on the mouthfeel, I get smoothness throughout the whole sip.
I think you're getting not smooth from the dryness of the actual beer. I think if you were maybe more thinking it was just a single hopped IPA.
Tell him more what he's thinking, Fife. Do it.
Right? I'm in your mind now.
Or not dry hopped.
Yeah,
right?
or not dry hopped at all. I think maybe that's where your flavor profile is coming from.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I could be wrong. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion.
Oh, thank you.
But in my opinion, that's the reason why your opinion is that way.
Brett's idea of what your taste buds are picking up are not what yours are, okay?
No, I think I definitely get what you're saying for sure. But let's see what other people think from Untapped.
All right. So I got the first one here. It is Marcus E. Marcus Ilek on December 27th said, first time trying this new Cowbell IPA. Reminds me of a Goose IPA. So that is a plus. And then there's a thumbs up emoji in there. Pairs well with leftovers, turkey soup, and D&D. So Dungeons and Dragons?
What else were you going to say?
I was going to ask. I'm not sure what D&D is.
I think
but
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
Yeah. And I
Okay.
think the Goose IPA is referring to Goose Island IPA.
Yeah, I believe so as well. And yeah, so they were enjoying some Christmas leftovers during that time period. So they give it a 3.75 out of 5.
Okay. The next one comes from Alex H, and that username is Beers and Obvious. I think I'm reading that correctly.
Yeah.
Yep.
On December 26th, comment, really like this one. Superb flavor. And when I read it, it had a scent of canned pineapple. I checked it out, and they absolutely nailed it. And they gave it a 4.5 out of 5. So close to the 5. But
So
not quite
close. No, some would say 0.5 off.
there. That'd be correct. Math adds up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good.
Check it.
So, and I'll get the rating started.
Please do.
In terms of this, I think it's actually almost better out of the can than I had it on tap.
Really?
When it was at the actual brewery myself.
That you don't see that often. Let's
Yeah.
just take
No,
note of
you
that.
don't. You definitely
usually,
don't.
Usually draft and then maybe
Yeah.
can and
But
bottle.
I don't know.
Good.
Maybe it's just my taste buds today. I have no idea. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Well, all right. So I'm going to be at a 3.75. Really nice. I'm starting to get more of that pineapple flavor coming through, so that's good for me.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3.75 also. I'm a little disappointed in the amount of pineapple that I'm not getting. Maybe again, that's just my taste buds or whatnot. But producer Jaden is coming in with a 4.75.
Wow.
Coming in
We are
hot.
so close to that 5. Whoever breaks that 5
Yeah,
mark.
Oh, we are selling so hard.
Oh,
a
yeah.
bunch of random sounds and whatnot.
We've had, I think this is our third 4.75.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yep.
So
And that actually gives us a team overall rating of 4.1875, which we will round up
yeah.
to 4.25.
Perfect.
nice. So that concludes our conversation of Cowbell and their beers.
Yeah, so we're going to be right back. We're going to have a chat about sustainability. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back. So this is our first episode of 2021.
We made it to the
We made it to the new year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year to your
Happy-
friends and
Happy
family
New Year,
out there,
everybody.
For
obviously.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot has changed. You're still going to get us, but you're going to get more of us, actually. So we did have a brief recap I'm going to give to you guys on the state of the podcast that we had in mid-December?
Yeah, mid-December.
Mid-December.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, so what I'm going to talk about is just a brief kind of overview of what kind of came from that, some of our action items, if you will. So we're going to probably be producing some more content.
Yeah.
Yay, right?
Make sure you're subscribed.
Yeah.
All the fans out there are damn excited.
Yeah. So it's funny because we have had some conversations with some individuals. Skip out in Newfoundland. Shout out
What's
to you.
going
buddy.
on up there,
Yeah.
Skip?
Shout out. We kind of informed him ahead of time that we are going to be doing some more content. So we are looking at producer specials bi-weekly on our off weeks, if you will, of our main episode. So that is going to be interesting when we get into what we're going to be doing with that. And we'll probably discuss that at the first producer special. So I don't want to give it all away.
Yep.
But we will be looking at that, and that's going to release the week after this main episode. So this
Cliffhanger.
Yes, there it
If you
is. We're going to continue to be active on social media. We appreciate the support that we've got from everybody, whether it's been, comments, likes, forwards, mentions, whatever it might be.
Reposts.
Shares,
Reposts.
reads. Yes.
Yeah, sliding into the DMs, do what you got to do. It
happens.
But we appreciate all the support that we've got, and I think collectively, the three of us and the producers, we can all agree that we didn't anticipate this being exactly what it has been.
We didn't appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
Well, we certainly
We
appreciate
did
it.
not anticipate, that's
Yeah.
the correct word.
There it is.
Taking off like what it has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We thought maybe it'd just be like, with some friends and some family and blah, 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 we get this and that, right?
It's really blowing
But
up.
it's blown up to the point where we get listens from countries and provinces that, okay.
Never would have suspected.
Never would have
Yeah.
thought, right?
Yeah. So we're going to continue to be active on social media, and we're actually going to create a Facebook community. So I'm not going to talk about that. Brett, do you want to kind of...
Yes. So pretty
Okay.
much is more so about, what are we drinking tonight? Also being safe. We want to stay thirsty, but also stay safe at the same time, right? We understand that people in Ontario right now are going through a lockdown in terms of really not being able to go out unless it's essential, right? So some people in terms of mental health are going to struggle with that, but we just want to have a nice community where we can share, talk about beer, give opinions on beer, etc. Show what we're drinking tonight, and just appreciate beer overall.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking at. That was kind of some of the action as it came to this day of the podcast. So that's what we've got. So let's move on a little bit to the conversation we're going to have.
Yeah, so like we mentioned, we're going to talk about sustainability in today's conversation. So Cowbell places a huge emphasis on sustainability and conservation, and they actually received the 2018 Sustainable Forestry Initiative Award from the Wood Design and Building Awards organization. Right. So that's huge. We mentioned about the way they built the brewery. Right. So that goes kind of hand in hand.
And if you've actually been to the brewery, you can see why it won an award.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And also the Sustainable Forestry Initiative has certified them. So that's awesome. Huge. So they're being recognized for their sustainability.
For sure. So to define sustainability, if we look into the old dictionary, it's the avoidance of the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance. And you can see that. Sorry. Get a little choked up there.
Tear coming from the eye.
That's the old cracker and the cheese ball coming back up. I need another beer to flush her down. But so they have been sustainable. They have won several awards for it, and still keeping to a beautiful design. So it's not like you're going ahead and saying design is over sustainability. They've managed to balance both those, like a lot of their beers. They balance the flavors and the taste and all that. So,
and if you see coming up Highway 4 and County Road 25 coming into Blyth, whichever way you're coming from, you can understand why the building looks so beautiful, because you can see it from far away, because it's a macro brewery. It's huge.
Yeah.
Right? And you can exactly see, once you pull into the huge parking lot they have, why they've won all these awards, why it's just such a big building. It's such a beautiful building. I shouldn't say big building. It's a beautiful building.
She's big and she's beautiful.
Exactly. Exactly. And actually, 28 acres of Cowbell has been reforested with 17,000 native species trees, pollinators, and fruit producers. Have we ever planted a tree?
I have. There was a tree planting program in elementary school that we did.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
no way.
I haven't done this in elementary school, but in London they have the Reforest London program. Right. So as part of
Forest
that,
City.
The Forest City.
Good tie-in.
So as part of that, you can basically pick up free trees from their depots and plant them. So we've actually planted, I think, 2 or 3 trees in our yard. So
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I also live in London, so I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I was unfamiliar with the program.
Yeah,
cool. I have planted about 150 trees in my 1 week as a landscaper back in about 2013.
A little different when you're getting
on a county road somewhere. I was getting paid for it.
A little bit of compensation. So going back again to sustainability, so this is on the restaurant side of things, but 75% of the food served is sourced in Huron County. So they support their local
which
vendors.
is important. Yeah.
So Metzger's Meat, which they also then have Blyth Farm cheese. I don't personally have my own garden. Anybody else have a garden?
I planted some peppers this year.
How'd that go?
Not overly well. Okay. A little busy in terms of having a baby and things like that.
Peppers got neglected a bit.
Peppers really got neglected this year.
Did you have a baby?
I mean, my wife did.
There it is. We got it.
Damn it. Yeah.
So producer Jaden actually has an extensive garden, and I took 3 or 4 different walks out throughout the year just to see kind of the growth and whatnot. And I think that's a key point to mention, is just sustainability within our own kind of lives, right? So take the morals, take that the quality of what Cowbell is doing, and kind of put that in your own life a little bit, and say, hey, you know what? I could probably plant a couple vegetables myself. If you have the land. If you don't, you don't. But there is urban gardening. I did
for sure.
When I did live in an apartment in another city. We tried to do it. Squirrels were still climbing, scaling like freaking Spider-Man.
Squirrels are crazy.
Scaled the side of the building and ate that one tomato. You're like, that puppy is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And I left for a week and came back and that thing was gone. So I was like, man.
Well, so I don't have a vegetable garden, but we do have a couple flower gardens, which is good for, the pollinators, the bees and everything like that. We know that the bees are kind of struggling a little bit, I guess. Yep. But so just kind of even planting flowers to keep the bees around and everything like that.
Right.
So big thing about me is going back to the beer, because we are the craft beer connoisseurs.
We are.
Today. Cowbell's growler program, in terms of what they do. Now, their growlers are actually kind of unique in terms of their, like, I would say hourglass kind of form in terms of how they're made. But I do hope that everybody out there does go and grab growlers, right? Especially during this time of lockdown, because it's really the only way you're going to get tapped beer right now, unless you have a kegerator at your home.
It's true.
Yep.
Right? So I would strongly suggest go to Cowbell, or from Cowbell, go to whatever your local brewery is in terms of grabbing up growlers and keeping that sustainability and keeping the, us green, if you will.
Yeah,
right?
and to kind of feed off that point as we kind of wrap up this conversation, there's a couple of different things I want to point out. Going to the green kind of initiative, you will see, hopefully you'll see, we did post a picture actually on our Instagram story about the electric chargers for the vehicles. So again, keeping with sustainability, they do have Tesla and they do have electric chargers,
which you're really big
for
into.
the vehicles. Huge fan of that. So my car was there when we did do our tour. I could plug in, so that was great. So these kind of like the three pillars I think that Cowbell kind of focuses on, right? They focus on sustainability, they focus on diversity, and accessibility as well. So you can see in their parking lot, they have a bunch of Type A and Type B parking spaces, which are AODA compliant. So shout out to Cowbell for doing things right on three different pillars.
Absolutely.
So that's all we got on this conversation. We're going to wrap this one up, and we'll see you guys shortly with our farewell. All right, and that's all for today's episode.
Thanks again for listening. Keep listening every other Thursday as craft beer connoisseurs.
Wait a second.
This is funny.
Time out.
You're interrupting me.
On purpose. Yeah.
Okay.
So we actually are going to start doing our new episode. So we heard some feedback. New in 2021, we're going to be releasing a short 10 to 15 minute-ish producer special segment during our off weeks, beginning next Thursday, which is the 14th.
Nice.
Yeah.
So now you have to listen to us every week.
Every
instead of
week.
every other week.
Every week you get to hear our voices.
Yep.
But also, make sure you tell your friends, family, and your local farmers, because remember, farmers feed cities.
Sustainability. So from all of us and producer Jaden, I'm Tyler.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Chris.
And together, we're the Craft Beer Connoisseurs.